All right, welcome back to the BFR podcast presented by Sports Mockery. My name is Dave, cover the Bears for SM. I'm joined by my good friend, Chicago Bears content creator Ficky, and of course we have our producer Jack on the sticks, and also going to be giving his opinion here on this post-game show. Very similar to the what is this? Is this nine games in a row loss? So it's going to be very similar to the other 8. However, just a little bit different because there is actually some good stuff I think that came out of this game that we'll get to. Before we do, Ficky, Jack, how you doing, man? Or men? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's funny because my girlfriend, who's obviously watched me watch 9 years of this team, right, has seen the ups and downs, mostly downs, right? But she's like, I almost feel I actually would rather you be angry than like the disappointment and despair, because you watch it, right? After the first quarter, I don't know how you guys felt. I was watching with my mom, and I was like, they're going to lose by 40, right? And this is before they even got 20-0. I was deep down inside. I was like, they're going to lose by 40. Luckily, that didn't happen, but like it's just kind of like that self-acceptance where we're at now. We talked about on the pregame show. We talked about it after every postgame show. We're kind of just like, look, this team's horrible. This team sucks. It finds ways to lose, and they do that. So a lot more, and we'll get to it, and I'll let Jack give his thoughts here, a lot more positivity in this one that we saw, specifically with Caleb Williams. But as a whole, this team it may not win another game. And we said that like 4 games ago. So,
yeah, I said that. Jack, I'm going to let you go because I have kind of a rant here, but I'll let you go, Jack. How are you feeling after this one, man?
I feel better than I thought I would. Like, I think we all know going into this, there's a very, very slim chance that the Chicago Bears win this football game. So, like, when you have that low expectations anyways, but then you see good things like Caleb really balled out, and we'll get into it later. Like, he looked really good for the most part. Keenan looked awesome too, which he totally gave me the finger for me saying he was the biggest disappointment of the year.
That's funny. That. Right after that. Yeah, he watches the show, so
yeah, he does, and he hates me now. Him and DJ. Me and the wide receivers do not get along. We do not get along. I like them all, but like we are not seeing eye to eye on the season. But no, overall, I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
There was before I get into my kind of give my rant real quick, I want to talk about DJ more because there was a play. I'm going to go back on the, and rewatch this game, maybe pull it from all 22, but I think it was the shot that Caleb took one-on-one at the end of the game, kind of like 3 minutes left. Was it Branch on the corner, the Lions corner? And he just got bodied, dude.
It was Arnold.
Thank you. Yep. Arnold. And I just was like, dang, dude, like, I know DJ's a little smaller, but it didn't look like a fair fight. As far as like DJ going to kind of go at the top, at the peak of the ball, trying to grab it. I was like, I feel like as a wide receiver one, you got to give a little bit better of an effort there. Or not effort. You like to see maybe a little bit closer, or at least all things considered, make that play, for your quarterback. But it's like he just got outplayed. And I was just like, And a lot of the things that kind of come to mind is I think it was the QB school over there talking about how he's not really a true wide receiver one. And I'm like, that's not the first instance this year where I'm like, is he a true, like, almost like a St. Brown? Because St. Brown today, unbelievable.
The thing is, though, they don't have St. Brown running a corner fade because that's not St. Brown's body type.
But if he did, I think St. Brown, he's just more physical though.
I see. Look,
I think he's going to go.
I think DJ made those catches last year, so I'm not like too concerned. I mean, he did. He had some corner ones. I remember the Atlanta game, right, where Fields went nuts. He had 2 of them in the back of the corner like that. So you're like, okay, DJ. Yeah. I think this year has just been I think you'll probably get some mental with it, but it's just been a shit show from day one that I'm surprised. To be fair, like from even all the wide receivers, like right now they all have over 700 yards. I'm surprised any of them have gotten to that point if you were to look at how bad this offense has been, like on a grand scale. So,
yeah. No, you're fair. I guess the regression overall is just, you can look at the defense to DJ.
Oh my God, that's the worst one.
The defense is nuts. But I want to talk about this game a little bit, kind of because there's 2 things that are just it's such a frustrating loss, but at the same time, I think this was such a good audition for Caleb, for Ben Johnson, who was of course the OC, the leading candidate to be the Bears head coach next year, because I think everything that kind of matters was, one, Caleb having a good game. We all think he probably did that. I know we'll take a look at, Caleb in depth here in a minute, but at the same time, Ben Johnson showed that, he's worth every penny. There's a possibility he may flop, but at the same time, he is just so good, so creative. He had that fake play where he had, which I don't think is legal. I think they're going to get, I think that's going to be, I think they're going to be like, hey, I don't think you can do this because Jamar Gibbs, he just did like a somersault, fell down.
He basically acted like he was going for the fumble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was honestly hilarious. And then you have Jared Goff, like, honestly, stumbling, which it almost got me for a split second. In real time, I was like, this looks fake. You know, like it almost got me, but right away I was like, I don't think it was just, it's very, very impressive. It's almost like he has that luxury right now where he can kind of make those like FU type plays where he's throwing hooking ladders and everything like now because the Lions are won now with 13-2 or something like that. So I think the Ben Johnson, you know, and Caleb pairing just makes so much more sense. It was clear really halfway through the season, especially at that first matchup in Detroit, where you saw some of the things that Ben Johnson was able to do. He's a genius. He's almost like an evil genius, honestly. He's got a lot of confidence, and at the same time, Caleb, I think this is what you wanted out of him. He showed Ben Johnson once again in real time on the sideline how good he really is. And I know Jared Goff had a great day as well, but I think Caleb Williams, the way that he was able to, the number of things he was able to do when they were outmatched, right, against the Detroit Lions is pretty impressive. And at the same time, the penalties are really what killed Caleb. It wasn't even the Lions defense really, because he didn't get sacked all the way up till like late in the fourth. But at the same time, and now they weren't giving up sacks, but it was like the right guard penalty, you know, false start penalty. It was crazy.
You have another two starters falling off the line again. You got Braxton Jones barely played any of the game. Tevin Jenkins got injured again. Like this offensive line throughout the season already didn't have like the highest quality caliber at starters. And then we've seen throughout the season, we've had second and thirds. And like, I'm surprised. It makes sense why Caleb's been sacked 59 times just based off that alone.
More than that, right?
I think
in the 60s.
Is he 60 now?
Oh, I think he's in like 64. Something like
no, I don't think is it that high? I can't remember. Either way, why he's been sacked as high as he's been sacked, either way, that's too much, right? Why you're leading the league in sacked, it makes sense when you just look at who is on the offensive line or lack thereof because of injury.
So he got sacked once today?
I think twice. Once or twice.
I think it was, I don't know if it was once or twice. If it was twice, he's at 60. If it was once, he's at 59. So it just depends on how they.
Either way, the offensive line, it makes sense. That has to be, and we sound like a broken record. I get it. I'm sorry, guys out there, and ladies, but that has to be your number one priority, right? When it comes to roster rebuilding, it doesn't matter what quarterback you have back there, getting sacked over 40 times is crazy. Getting sacked over 50. There's still 2 more games left. They have a possibility. I think next in line is Bryce Young at 63. I think that's second highest ever by a rookie quarterback. And then number 1, which we won't get to, thank God, is David Carr and the Houston Texans back when he played in like 2001. And that was 73 sacks. So we don't want to see that at all because we don't want the shock. I think Caleb, though, we'll talk about him, but I think Caleb, it's not like affecting him as much as what we saw with like Fields, where it's like he's not seeing the field well or worry about getting hit. But you don't want to see that back-to-back for your quarterback. So you really have to make sure you give him enough time to make his reads. So it'll be interesting, though.
Yeah.
Twice? Okay.
I think, so 60. So he's been sacked 60 times this year. That's crazy. But I think Caleb put it best that he just met with the media. You know, he said, we did a lot of good things today. We also did a lot of bad things. And I think that's just the season, honestly, in a nutshell. So many a lot of good things. Probably, for sure, a lot more bad when you kind of add it all up. So,
sure.
I want to take a look at Caleb. I don't know if you have kind of
I got it.
Any graphics first. Let's pull that up.
Let's take his recap real quick, if you don't mind, Jack. All right. So Caleb Williams here finished today 26 for 40 attempts, right? 26 for 40. That's not bad. Actually, there was a couple, that added to that at the very end because he threw a couple incompletions just trying to get that final touchdown drive there where he had 3 misses at the end. But he ended up with 334 passing yards. Great to see. That's his we'll have to look at it here. I think that's his 3rd or 4th 300-yard game. So that's crazy, right? That's great to see. Touchdowns 2. Also, which is very important, is interception 0. I think he's now at like 300 plus passing attempts without throwing a interception, and that is the NFL's longest active streak right now. He had rushing yards of 34, which is timely ones, right? Getting through the pocket, going through his reads, nothing there, avoiding a couple sacks here and there and getting out of the pocket. And then, of course, he had a very high QBR of almost 108. So, I mean, overall, the day at the office, you got to say Caleb balled out. You would like to have one more touchdown, I think, especially at the end, but he did everything that he possibly could with a beaten up line, a run game that was non-existent, and, turnovers that happened that, had put the team in a bad spot, especially early on in that first quarter. So
I think today was very, very good. I was like, what are we doing here? So I think when it comes to Caleb Williams, because it's so weird. Oh, as I almost throw my mic here, it's so weird how we kind of hear how he's talked about, maybe just on socials, because like you would think he's like you'd think he's almost like Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf, that type of player, when he's having a really, perhaps one of the best Bears seasons ever.
Oh, no question. Right now, he's
stats.
Best he's 6 yards away. Not even rookie. He's 6 yards away. I know there's more games now than compared to when they played, Jay Cutler days, but he's 6 yards away from having a top 5 passing yards passing season in Chicago Bears history. 6 yards away from being top 5. That puts him in company with Jay Cutler, obviously Eric Kramer, who's number 1. And a couple other people in there.
Well, Jay Cutler's on there 4 times or 3 times.
3 times. Yeah, and he's about to pass Cutler for 5. And Cutler has 4, 3.
He's 6th right now. So he'll get that. He needs 6 more yards, like you said. He also, another fun fact, there's only 2 quarterbacks that have thrown for multiple touchdowns passes against the Detroit Lions. One is Josh Allen. The other is Caleb Williams, and he's done it twice now.
Twice, yeah.
So, all things considered, I don't know what more you want from Caleb anymore. Like I almost like, do you want to even play him the final 2 games? I know every rep matters, but at the same time, it's like, man.
If it wasn't the Packers the last game, I think there's something about that where he's going to want to play. Like if you can beat the Packers,
if they played, that's the thing where you wish it comes at, like maybe they play the Packers next week. And you can rest in that final game, but it's like, dang, it's kind of flip-flopped. So I think you're right there, Fake.
Yeah, you can't rest him and then play him. I know he's going to want to play against the Packers. Like that's the whole thing, is to try to beat Green Bay. And you had the opportunity last time, which is crazy. So
can I bring this up real quick?
Yeah, good.
Caleb Williams, since we're kind of talking about him, so he hasn't thrown his interception in his last 9 games. We know that. I wanted to take a look more at his last 6 games, mainly because that's the divisional games that he's played in. And of course, that's probably, I think it's fair to say it's the best division in football, NFC North, by far. But his last 6 games, he's 136 for 211, which is 65.1% completion percentage, which is pretty damn good. 1,486 passing yards, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 101.2 passer rating. And I think that right there, I don't think we've ever seen a quarterback, especially when you talk about Matt Eberflus was still coaching during this stretch, during those 6 games. I think 9 games ago was Shane Waldron was still involved. So it's like all these factors where he has had basically put on a platter for him to be, like he said, he has a lot of excuses to fail, to have, a lot of interceptions or to lose focus. And you can see today, even when, after his second touchdown pass, the will to win, the way he plays is just so unique, because like I think you said it earlier, Ficky, where it's like he hasn't allowed this to really break his spirit. He's still fired up. He wants to win. I think that 4th down call, in the 3rd quarter, where Thomas Brown decided to kick it to make it to go from a 3-score game to keep it as a 3-score game, which is that makes no sense to me. But he wanted to go for it there, and he was fired up on the sidelines. It looked like he was yelling in that direction of Thomas Brown. And so for me, I think the Bears have their guy, but I can't say this enough when it comes to this offseason, because it's just so important that they get it right, because I don't think we're going to see his full potential if they don't get it, if they get it wrong this year or this offseason.
For sure.
And the thing is, for me, I just feel so unlucky as a Bears fan, because I'm like, even if they get what they want, or they get what most people believe is going to happen, which is Ben Johnson, for some odd reason, and you guys tell me if you maybe feel the same way, what if he flops?
Well, that's always been my counter argument, is that you never, with the Bears, first off, not even just the Bears, with these guys that are great play callers, right? You never know what they are as a head coach. Actually, we just saw that now. Thomas Brown was doing really well as a play caller. Go to head coach. And of course, that's a little bit harder of a transition because you just got bumped up, promoted twice within 3 weeks, and the team's a shit show. But you see, though, you add more responsibilities on your plate. There's a lot more delegation that you're doing. It's not just you calling plays. So there is always, in the history shows, a question mark with that. But the real question is it worth the risk? And at this point, you don't know if any of these guys are going to be it unless they've already been a head coach like a Mike Vrabel, right? Is it worth to take the risk with someone like a Ben Johnson? And I would say yes. Jack, I'd love to know your opinion on this. And I think I kind of know it, but I'd love you to speak on it. But I feel like you have to take that risk because you need someone paired up with your quarterback. You need someone because you know that you have the guy. And what feels really good, and we were talking about this, right? The storylines of the NFL, like of the Chicago Bears, there weren't many other than the head coach, and we wouldn't really know more about what's going to happen unless there was tidbits from like the NFL insiders. But you saw Tom Pelissero today talk about, he released it out there. This stuff doesn't just get released. This is agents feeding information, whatever. And he said, they are Ben Johnson is very intrigued with the Bears job. He wants to make sure things are aligned. So now you have Tom Pelissero from NFL Network. You've had Ian Rappaport talk about it. Albert Breer talked about it weeks ago. And then I think Schefter has mentioned that the Bears are looking to go, quote, offensive minded. So you take all that information and you say, hey, look, when there's smoke, there's most likely fire. I would be shocked out of my mind if Ben Johnson isn't in Navy and Orange next year. But to go to you, Jack, do you feel like it's worth the risk to let's just take Ben Johnson out of it, but like, is it worth the risk to take an offensive minded head coach first over somebody who may have more of a resume of already being a head coach and being successful at it?
Yeah, my stance a few shows ago, I don't remember which week it was, but it was very much in terms of like, let's get someone with the resume, head coach experience. Like, we want to lead our men. Let's get someone that's already led men. Now I'm kind of more open, I think. At this point, I'll take anything, for God's sake. Like, I really, there's not much you have to do to impress me at this point. Yeah. But I've like, you look around the league, all 31 other teams, like, their head coaches had to start somewhere, you know? Like, not everyone is a head coach that gets like switched into teams. Like, you got to start with the coordinator. It is a unique situation because a lot of people say Dan Campbell will be nothing without Ben Johnson, but then you have to think, like, would Ben Johnson be nothing without Dan Campbell and that organization, the way it's built? There's a lot of different things. He can absolutely be a boss. Like, there's 0% guarantee that he is like the next Bill Belichick, you know? So I don't know. It is tough, but at the end of the day, you do have to take a risk at some point. And I know that our entire, I would say the last 100 years has just been risk. But I just don't know who the safe option would be. You know, like, is it
have one?
Right. So, like, is there one that like we're debating between?
Yeah, I think it has to go with like a couple years from now. You know, the Bears won't get mocked if they go with Ben Johnson because everybody. It's similar to like Caleb. It's like when they were drafting number one, you the risk of not going with Caleb, huge. Which I know this doesn't mean a lot, but it's like if he does hit and you pass on him, similar to like Mahomes, it just looks awful. It looks awful. But with Ben Johnson, you take him, he just, all signs, everything makes sense. You have a rookie quarterback, offensive minded. You're already making this shift because typically with the Bears, it goes offense or goes defense, offense. They just kind of go back and forth when it comes to those coaching cycles and when they kind of started over. And so they typically do that. So it just makes all the sense.
Crazy. They have done that. They went Lovey, Tressman, John Fox, I think Nagy, Eberflus. Yeah, that's crazy.
I think it makes sense though, because I think all franchises typically do that. I think I would have to go and do research, but I almost, if I had to bet, like a betting man, I think this happens more often not where the ownership's like, okay, we're doing something different, you know, enough with these offensive minded guys. But yeah, the Bears for sure, like in their history, especially in the last decade, maybe 15 years.
That's like 20 years now. That's back forth.
Exactly. And so for me personally, I hope the Bears just go with Ben Johnson because, I mean, there was a comment here. Like, look, he's just so creative because we talked about that trick play that he did. So Kaylin Kaler of the Sun Times, I believe, no, ESPN and The Athletic, she was able to speak with the Lions, said the Jared Goff, Jamar Gibbs coordinated trip on the Laporta touchdown play is called Stumble Bum, which is funny. And it was a designed trip. But this is where it gets interesting. It was inspired by Ben Johnson drew inspiration from when he was watching Jordan Love actually trip against Chicago earlier in the year, and they pulled off a huge pass play in their first meeting. And so I just think that's
and then to pull it out on us is also hilarious.
But to coordinate it. And I think a guy like, a creative mind like Ben Johnson first of all, he's watching Bears Packers. I love that already. A lot of people do, but that's cool. But then to draw inspiration from a broken play to then coordinate that broken play to actually be like a fake or a trick play. It's just, we just haven't seen it on top of all the hook and ladders he's done already in the last, 8 weeks.
From a play scheme design, Ben Johnson's easy top 3. You got like Shanahan's, you got McVay, and you got Ben Johnson. And it's not just, Ben Johnson just did that this year. He's been doing it for by the end of this year, it'll be almost 3 years. So you've seen a lot of resume of like, this man, when it comes to designing plays, can do it. So I'm not worried about that aspect if we get Ben Johnson. We will get a well-designed offense. The issue is, not issue, but the question marks are, can he lead a team, right? Can he run a team, I should say? And then the second thing, which we're seeing now, is do we have the talent? Because at the end of the day, right, we do have Caleb, which is great to see. We do have wide receivers, which I think align, if not better, than what's in Detroit. But the one thing that Detroit has on us, and they've had for years, that's much better than us, is that offensive line. Last year, offensive line was like top 3 in the NFL. They've had some injuries this year, so it's not up there as high, but it's still very, very solid play. So can he adjust to how, the weaknesses that we have on this team? And I think he can. And we didn't see that. You remember, we talked about this. We go back to Shane Waldron days. Sorry to take everyone back here to painful memories. But those are some of the things we were talking about was like, hey, why is he doing 5-step, 7-step drops when this offensive line is beat the hell up and the talent wasn't there? So you have 3 of your wide receivers running depth of target of like 12 yards. And it's like, dog, he needs 5 seconds to find someone open. And that's not going to happen because the line can only block for like 3, right? So yeah. I feel like if Ben Johnson comes in, he'll be able to understand those, weaknesses. So I say all that to be like, look, this is not a flash in the pan of Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson has showed us who he is from an offensive mind for years, and that's why he's such a hot commodity. So I think you have to take that risk. And Dave, you made a good point. You know what I mean? Like if you don't and it work, like if you pick it and it doesn't work out, look, you did what you were supposed to do. Sometimes things don't work out, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't, and he goes somewhere else, and everyone, and he ends up being like that Ben Johnson, that everyone expects.
New England. Say he goes to New England or something like that with Drake May. It could be bad. That's all I'm saying. I think it's just it makes sense just to go with the right choice or the correct choice right now, because if you don't, no one's going to look back 3 years from now and be like, I can't believe the Bears didn't do this, And at the same time, I just think offensively for Caleb, there's nothing that I don't think can go wrong with him. I think there's only going to be positives in regards to his development with Ben Johnson. Even if Ben Johnson's not a good coach and he's out after 3 years, I don't think it's going to be because the offense sucks. I think it'll be more because of the chemistry. Maybe he's just similar to like Shane Waldron, like where he just could not connect with his guys. I don't think Ben Johnson is going to be like that, or 2 different personalities, because you see him in Detroit. Everyone, the way they talk to the players, they love him. He seems like he's funny, down to earth. So I just don't think that, but that would be the only reason, in my opinion, if he does fail, would not be because of the offensive side, but more of like the leadership style. So because that can kind of grow. It can grow similar like Matt Nagy. Honestly, it's like almost a spitting image where it's like Nagy was brilliant. His offense kind of sucked at times. It was more of like a reflection on his quarterback. Mitch was not that great.
No, he wasn't.
But Nagy was creative. And sometimes he got too cute, but at the same time, his shtick or whatever, finding the why kind of just, it fell on deaf ears. And Chicago, of course, is brutal as far as the media goes and kind of ran him out of town. And then we got Eberflus. So,
yep. That's a good point. Jack, can you bring up, because I think these will go to the conversation. I think it's good to talk about.
Yeah.
Can you bring up Jimmy Butler's comment here first? First of all, thanks to
up,
Jimmy
JB?
Butler. Yeah, we appreciate you in Miami taking time to hop on the BFR podcast. So he said, Ben Johnson is a fraud. He has 5-star athletes at every position. I want to debunk this to say what great coordinator doesn't have athletes. Like, when people are like, oh, wow, you're great, it's typically they have a good quarterback. They probably got at least one good wide receiver in a group of like decent running backs. So I don't think that's a fraud. You have to have it's a balance. You can't be. We just talked about Nagy, right? You could be a good. I'd say he's a good play caller. You could be a good play caller, but if you don't have the talent, it's not going to be executed well, right? So you have to have the talent. That's got to be a part of it for you to be dominant. They have a good quarterback and they have good wide receivers. So do we. The only difference is our O-line. So, and then can you bring up one more? Go to the Conrad Bain, if you don't mind. The first one before that. Actually, let's do back-to-back here. So the first one is Ben Johnson has said he already won't take the Bears job. That's not true. He may have denied interviews last year, but he's definitely open for business. And then this comment here said Caleb isn't smart enough to run a Ben Johnson offense. That's definitely.
Why are we giving that time? Who cares?
So,
yeah, come on.
Anyways,
we're not giving that time. That's ridiculous. Such a dumb comment.
Yeah,
I don't even know. Why would you say that? Anyways, now I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Pissed me
No,
off
I wanted to see the first one. That was the most important one. I forgot about the one.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah. No, for me, I wanted to kind of obviously stick with Ben Johnson. I think the Bears, this is kind of going to force the Bears to do something they don't typically like to do, right? It makes them uncomfortable. And with the Bears, one thing they love to do is just stick with the status quo, right? They whatever they've done the last 100 years, whatever it is in their history, they just don't like doing something different. Similar to like firing Eberflus, they did not like to do that. It was kind of forced upon them. Same thing with Ben Johnson now. They're going to have to pay big time money for a big time name, a big time talent, an offensive mind. Something they haven't had to do. Matt Nagy's contract was, I think, less than Eberflus.
Even though Eberflus was the biggest bank that
that's what I'm saying.
McCaskey's ever spent.
So, but now it's going to be. We already know it's going to be way more than Eberflus. And so for me, I think that's a good thing. Where the media, the pressure that they're facing to get this thing right with Caleb, who many believe is the best prospect they've ever had in Bears history as far as the quarterback position, they're going to be forced to hand out almost a blank check to him, and that's, but if they don't, that's because, and that's why I think Ben Johnson, if they don't go that route, I think that will be the reason. With Harbaugh, money wasn't the reason. It was more of like a, probably like a power struggle.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I think if the Bears showed interest, he would have at least.
Oh no, maybe, but I think he knew that he wouldn't have control like he does in LA. So he probably
and that Kevin White relationship too, or Kevin Warren,
Jesus, bro.
Don't
bring that up. But yeah, that makes sense.
But
it doesn't make sense.
I think Caleb and Ben Johnson, like I said, I think today was a good day, especially for the Bears. And all things considered, we talked about, I think, on the preview pod, Jack, I think you said it, but we've all said it before. It's like Caleb looks good, Bears lose. That's the best case scenario right now. Because now we're all, it's kind of sick. All three of us were looking at Tankathon before we went live here to kind of see where the Bears were. And I think we're still at 9, I believe.
Yeah.
We're looking for, I think, the Jags and, was it Patriots? Or no, Jags and what team did I say?
No, I think it was Patriots, but I think they're going to end up losing.
Patriots are up 14-7.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we need to hope the Patriots and Jaguars both win today. Of course, our draft position is not going to go up or anything, but then they would both become 4-win teams with 2 games left. And I think there's 6 or 7. So if the Pats and Jags both win, I think there's 6 or 7 teams with 4 wins, maybe.
Yeah, well, there's 3 right now. So it's Chicago, New York, the Jets, and Carolina. But if New England wins, that's 4, and then if it's Jags, it's 5. So we have 5 of 4 and 11, but we have the hardest strength of schedule, so that's why we're at 9. So we need at least some of them to win one more
game. But that's what I'm saying. If odds are, if they can get those wins today, it would be good. It'd be very good.
It would. It's good to be in a good spot because we're going to lose out. Let's be real. So realistically, we're going to be 9. I don't think we drop lower than 9 because New Orleans is pick 10 and they're at 5. We're not going to win another game. So really, realistically, I think we're going to be anywhere from 5 to 9.
Yeah. I just would hope if you can just get up to 7, 6, and then move back, just unless you can get a top tier guy, a talent.
But at like 5 or 6, you could get like Abdul Carter from Penn State, #1 edge. You could get Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell at the number. Like when you're that high up, because 2 of the first picks are going to be quarterback, and then the other ones, Travis Hunter. So
this quarterback class is terrible.
Yeah, out of your top 5 picks, right? 3 of them are basically locks going to quarterbacks, and then your Heisman winner, right? So that means 2 other picks are going to happen, and then that means you basically get a first at the number 1 player at a position.
Speaking of the draft, I think it's gonna be interesting with Ryan Poles. They kind of showed him up there at Soldier Field in the press box, and I think it's gonna be interesting if the Bears do end up keeping him. Are we gonna see a very aggressive like Ryan Poles offseason? Because you would think they're not gonna extend him. That would be crazy, and he's in his final year.
But I think so I saw a report. I can't remember what beat writer was, but they said the Bears have always worked that way to show like, look, you're locked in with the new coach. They extend that final year, and then you kind of have a game plan of like, okay, I know my 2 to 3 year, projection. So it's interesting because that's a great point, Dave. Either like he could get canned, but if not, I feel like you have to extend them, right? Not from like our standpoint as fans. No, but I'm saying from like because Ben Johnson came in and said I have to be aligned with the GM. You do not come in.
He said that?
Yes. Well, his agent said that. The story that comes out. That was
I don't think respectfully, I think if you give Ben Johnson the money, he's just going to be here.
No, but he said it was 2 weeks ago. It was was it Rappaport? Anyways, one of the insiders basically came out and basically said like, oh, he has to be. Oh no, it was Thanksgiving is when the report came out before the Bears played Detroit, and it was ironic that it was around this time, or convenient, I should say.
I don't believe
like there's a lot has to be like some of his qualifications were has to be alignment with GM. So whether that is the GM that's there, or that means I'm bringing in my own guy, because what people thought about that, first of all, some people were upset like Ben Johnson. Oh, who's this guy think he is? To like,
he's not going to be able to bring his own guy.
Albert
Breer, thank you. It was Albert Breer's report. Thank you, because he does the Thursday game. So he did Thanksgiving. So it was either that or he's bringing his the assistant GM from the Lions, because people talk about how he's probably going to get promoted to a
Ben
GM
Johnson spot. He does not have. There's no way he has that pull. The Bears are not going to let him pick a GM. There's just no way.
It's happening.
They may give him a couple options, but at the same time, I think Tom Pelissero today talks about how Ben Johnson was very intrigued. And this is what, a couple weeks after Thanksgiving game or whatever it is.
No, he's definitely
and
intrigued.
Nothing's changed though. So I think for me, hey, we're gonna pay you, make you the highest paid head coach in Bears history by a huge margin, and then they'll decide. Kevin Warren's going to decide what he wants to do. I don't think he's going to.
I agree with you on that, but I think that Kevin's going to understand. That they're probably. I mean, look, you want your GM to be aligned with your head coach.
What I want to say,
like with your quarterback, you don't want it the 1 year and then you have to get a new person in. So if Ben Johnson comes, they're probably going to extend Poles, right? Or you just cut Poles and get someone fresh.
That just is that whole entire process would be. I don't like that. Be like, oh, we're just going to extend you when he hasn't earned it at all. That just.
But then bring in a new guy.
But I guess then at the same time. Then if you don't extend him or you don't bring in a new guy, but if you say you keep him and you don't extend him, he could be ultra aggressive and give up capital. I know
and then he's out the next year.
Little bit. Yeah. And he's playing with, house money because it doesn't really affect him. So it's going to be
You don't want to see like a Ryan Pace situation with Nagy, right? You don't want that.
I think the Bears should move on. Like if they're going to make any type of decision, I think they should just move on. But at the same time, I don't think the Bears do that. I think they've done enough already that they don't want to do, and firing Poles. Unless Kevin Warren's like 100%, locked in on that decision, I don't think it's going to happen, because the Bears are they've already done a lot. They've done Hard Knocks. They fired Eberflus. They fired Shane Waldron. They've done so many things that they just don't typically do. And so they're going to probably do whatever it takes to not have to do one more thing. And I think that's just the McCaskies and kind of how they always operate.
People are probably going to hate me for this, but you can book it. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Been wrong before, but I bet you he gets extended. I bet it may not be like big news, but I bet you he gets. If he's not fired, it's either two options: he gets canned, and the new guy comes in with Johnson, or he gets. If he stays here, I bet there'll be something on the table. It won't be announced, right? Unless they want it to be, but it's gonna be like, oh yeah, he got a couple years added on, and we won't hear about it till later. Because they didn't even talk about the contract length of Eberflus. I mean, that didn't come out 2 years into the contract, how long that was. Like, even when they hired him, we never knew how long that was, how much he was getting paid, all of that. So I wouldn't be surprised with the McCaskies and how they run their business that if something like that doesn't happen. So we'll see, though. There's options out there. Jack, what would you want? Do you want them canned, or would you want 3 options? Canned, the 1 year test, right? Whatever. You got 1 more left in your deal. You play it out, or extend.
Call me delusional, but has Poles had a bad draft since he became GM? Like one where it was truly like
overall, what are we doing? No.
I feel like overall hasn't he been like really killed the draft?
He took a punter in the 4th. He took
best player, to be honest, is our best rookie.
But when you need, look at the offensive line depth.
That's true.
You know, look what he did with Keenan Allen.
But
he was a healthy scratch, and he was a 3rd round pick, dude.
But let's actually do that. Let's go through the drafts. I think it's fair. Look, let's do this past year, right? Hits versus misses. Hit Caleb Williams. Hit Roma Dunze. Miss Kieran Amagaji. Hit Torrey Taylor. Like, if you're talking about talent-wise, whether you take him 4th or later.
But I think that's important.
I still call it, you can say it's a miss. But you want to say it's a miss in the 4th?
Kieran, no, but there's so much context. 3rd round pick has to be able to play.
A miss. No, Kieran's a miss. I already called that. But
it's not just, but all misses aren't equal, just like hits.
No, for sure. But I would say your quarterback, your franchise quarterback.
We have no idea.
As of right now, what we know. You can only count hits on like current. We don't know how this is going to project out. Kieran Amagaji in 3 years could be a solid starter.
That's terrible.
But in 3 years, he could be a starter. He was a project, right? You don't know. Adam Thielen didn't become a great wide receiver until year 5. Look, but I'm saying your logic, you'd have to use it for everything. So if you say you can't tell in the future, we don't know a Kieran. All these guys are, we'll wait.
But you can't tell right away. Typically, you could trust your gut on some things.
Sure, but you can't.
What you saw last week with Amagaji.
If you're going to use the gut check, then I'm going to use the gut check with Caleb and say that's a hit, Rome's a hit, and those are way bigger hits than the misses.
Right.
Torrey Taylor is still a hit because first off, for how much we punt, my God, still a hit. Austin Booker, I'll say that's a miss. It's a 5th rounder though. Let's go to the year previously, right? Actually need to pull that up because that's actually good. Let's see. NFL draft. What was that? 2023. Bears.
Darnell Wright.
Hit.
Reek.
He was great today.
Hit.
No, do you have it? Darnell Wright?
But at the same time, you could have got Jalen Carter.
Yeah, but you just talked about how we need an offensive line. Dave, you just said we need an offensive line, and then now you take that out for defensive tackle.
Yeah, I'm going Jalen Carter. I'm going Jalen Carter every single day over Darnell Wright. It always was the right move.
You need an offensive line. We already talked about how weak that is. So you're saying Darnell Wright's a miss. They could have done another pick. Jack, let's go to the next one. Let's go through. So Dave has Darnell Wright as a miss.
Okay, so real quick. Darnell Wright, 1st round. Javon Dexter, 2nd round.
Miss. Huge.
Javon Dexter is not a miss.
He's not good enough. He's not good enough, in my opinion.
He's had a good
in the 2nd round.
What?
Second round. Okay, let me pull up these stats. Keep going.
Tyreek Stevenson, 2nd round as well.
That's a miss as of now.
Zach Pickens, 3rd.
Miss.
Roshan, 4. Tyler Scott, 4. And then the rest are
hit and miss. So if you're saying Darnell's a miss, because that's a big one, I don't think Darnell's a miss at all. I think
I never said he was a miss. I would have went Jalen Carter. So I think that's a miss on his resume, trading back for what?
He traded back for a 4th, I think, or a 3rd.
No, I know what it was for, but I'm just like, I think you take Jalen Carter there. I think a lot of people do.
So that one,
he's insane.
Yeah, dude, 22. So I would say 2023 is a good draft. I mean, 2024 was a good one. 2022 wasn't, I would say, as good, or 2023 wasn't as good. Let's see 2022.
2nd round was Kyler Gordon and Brisker.
Hit.
Valus in the 3rd.
Miss.
Braxton, 5. Dominique Robinson, 5. Zach Thomas, 6.
Miss. Zach Thomas, I don't count the 6 and plus. Those are just scratch offs. So that's a hit. You got 4 starters out of there that are still on the team that we all love today, Kyler and Brisker. And you got Braxton Jones, your starting left tackle in the 5th. So if I look at all of that, right, no GM gets all of them right.
Would Braxton Jones be a starter on how many other teams, though?
Oh, a lot. And the O-line disparity in the NFL is very bad. It's really offensive line play has been horrible this year. If you're going to say a wide receiver or something, I'd say differently because they come out every year, a dime a dozen. But you can look at our team. Like offensive line, it's very hard to find good linemen. That's why I'm talking about the Darnell Wright part. Is like it's much easier to find a good defensive tackle somewhere. It is so hard to find good offensive line play. That's why tackles, their success rates are always look at this upcoming draft. All the top, like in the top 10, 4 of the top 10 picks projected are offensive tackles because they understand that's where the value of them are and they're that important. They're so hard to get right. Like instead of a guard or a center. That's my opinion.
I think when you throw in some of the misses, and sure you can count some of them as hits, but at the same time, there's been talk about Rome going wide receiver there. There's a very valued argument. Same thing with the Jalen Carter thing. Then you talk about the 3rd round picks with Bayless, Karan Amagaji, who was the Pickens, right? Zach Pickens.
Pickens second. It's even worse. That was second. Right? They made 2 seconds, right? Wasn't it Javon and Pickens back to back?
Pickens was 3rd.
Oh, was he 3rd?
I think Pickens was 3rd. So he just cannot. He's not hitting in those 3rd round picks, which are so important.
0 for 3.
And then same thing, Torrey. Yeah, that's a hit, but could have been a hit in the 6th round.
Maybe
could have been hit in the 5th round.
Well, we didn't have a 6th.
No, he traded back in to get Torrey, or he traded back in to get Austin Booker.
Yeah.
And then now he went with Torrey Taylor, which Torrey is insane. He's electric. I would buy his jersey, but at the same time, the way he's developed this team, traded for Ryan Bates, who's 105 snaps this year. He traded a 5th round pick for him. It's just with the way he is operating, it doesn't really look good.
Well, let me preface with this. Let me preface with this because I think we're aligned on this, right? Whether we're exactly aligned on every pick or every decision, that's not going to happen. But I agree that he hasn't. This is kind of like the Justin Fields treatment. He hasn't done enough to where I'm like, you're for sure locked in for an extension, right? Have you done enough where I could see you get an extension? Absolutely. But have you also done enough where I could see you getting fired? Absolutely.
I guess
50-50.
I don't align with that because I think he hasn't done enough because then you look at the coaches that he brought in, that he allowed to. Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, where he should have fired him, but he allowed his personal relationship with him get involved, in my opinion.
That one's probably the worst one.
That exactly. You can argue hits and misses, especially because the jury's still out on some of these players. Just because it takes a few years. However, sometimes you could just tell, but we don't know. That's fair. That's a very fair point. But Shane Waldron, Matt Eberflus, that right there, leadership-wise, allowing that to create such an insanely toxic locker room for a big stretch of this year, where it was awful. The players were calling him out, and they just kept on not making a decision, and they finally fired him. What makes it even funnier is when Thomas Brown was getting really good chemistry with Caleb Williams, and then he had the 2 terrible outings the last couple of weeks since he took over, and then finally had a bounce-back day against funny enough, the Detroit Lions. So
we talked about it. He always balls out against Detroit. So
it is frustrating. Ryan Poles, I think we all can agree last year we thought he did a really good job in the offseason. But now it's like all of this stuff that's kind of coming to light. Tyreek Stevenson as well. Like just some of these players that we thought were good. Tremaine Edmonds, right? Giving him big time money. I know he had a really great PBU
today.
This year.
Decent games today,
but but it's like there's just been some misses, DeAndre Swift.
I think the biggest thing though, Swift's tough, but I can understand that because it's lie. So much is like lying.
He's had 6 games under 39 rushing yards.
Can't run. This offensive line is ass. But I get it. But I will say, I think the biggest thing which shifted my mindset, because it used to be like, look, from a roster build point, like he's where he came in, reconstructed, cap space, and like not mortgaging the future and actually having extra,
I think that's what he's best at.
Those 100%. But what was the biggest damning thing was when we found out that it was his personal choice with the Matt Eberflus. I think that's where things really started to sour because
that is the wrong way.
That is such like for accountability standpoint. We were thinking we were actually out there saying, hey, this is probably the McCaskies behind the scenes, they're saying, hey, we don't fire coaches, rock with it one more time. But to hear that it's actually him, so I understand, Dave, like you're like why you would say to cut him or let him go. I totally would
Mhm.
get that. I'm definitely on the fence. I could see either or, right? I think that was the main factor though. And there might be some others, but that was the main one I think started to shift a lot of our narrative around Ryan Poles. Because like, dude, why did you decide to stick with this guy? We all knew that wasn't the opportunity. I mean, not the right guy last year. And guess who was in the hiring cycle last year who didn't take a job? Now, I bet you he would have taken a job with us if Caleb was here, but that's Ben Johnson. He saw the opportunities out there. He was in the interviewing process, and he said, I'm taking my talents back to Detroit. So
I think it's interesting with Ben Johnson because he really did go in his bag today, you know. Almost like it was almost like a hey, look what I can do, kind of like some showmanship, you know, in regards to like this is what I could possibly bring, you know, for Caleb. And so I don't know. Who knows with Poles? Who knows, man? At the same time, I don't know. Yeah, I think the thing that Dubs rubbed me the most, the wrong way the most, is to that how he handled Eberflus and
not great
and all of that. So
sorry, I know we kind of went on a rant there, Jack. But did you actually say which one you would have done? Cut, extend, or keep, or like do the 1 year, fire, or extend them now?
I think you said cap, right?
Did you say keep? I think you asked the question.
I would vote keep at this point.
Yeah.
I'd be more nervous in the risk than reward. Risking like getting a new GM that's just god awful, you know.
Yeah, unless it's the only way I would be like if a firing does happen, if you bring a GM that's already worked with Ben, I feel like if you bring that assistant and Lions, and also you want to talk about a great GM, the Lions GM has been fantastic. So like bringing someone from that would help, right? The assistant GM from there, yeah. So if you're going to do it, let's not just fire to fire, right? Hopefully. Fingers crossed, you have like a backup plan. Like, oh, we're firing because we know we can get these two people to come through the door. If not, I agree with you, Jack. The risk may not be worth the reward. But I think what's one positive thing, no matter what, this is a hot commodity. This team may be hot dog shit, but the openings that could possibly be here, I think, are very intriguing.
Yeah,
coaches are going to come here, which is great. It creates demand, and GMs are going to want to come here. So, and that's mostly thanks to the quarterback today, who also did an audition while Ben Johnson was auditioning by doing all his bags of tricks. You had Caleb doing the exact same thing to Ben Johnson, like, "Hey, buddy, 2 games in a row. You see what I do over here." So,
this is it's part of like I think we're talking about offseason a little bit and kind of get. I guess there's not really much to talk about in regards to this Bears game. There's not much you can learn from it. There's not a lot of analysis you can do analyzing, you know, all the play because we've talked about that so much. But I think Ben Johnson, it'll be interesting to kind of see if they do hire him, who he brings in, who influence wise as far as like DC, like Robert Saleh. I don't know if he's interested, but that would be insane.
He was amazing in San Fran and in New York. And in New York,
you know, and I don't think he's probably not going to command a head coaching gig. Just it's not going to happen. It never happens after you're kind of fired. But I think out of all the situations with the resources, right, you're going to probably get another edge, whether it's through free agency or the draft or both, maybe.
Or both, yeah.
I don't know what caliber wise you get. But that defense it's honestly, I tweeted earlier, but it's like the regression it's had, which I think aligns with kind of Flus leaving. And also players kind of maybe thinking about vacation like DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I think that plays a huge role in it, kind of the regression they've took. And also, I mean, the Bears they couldn't stop the run. Jamar Gibbs. I mean, thank God Dave Montgomery was not there because
facts.
It could have got
their
really
problem
ugly.
all year. That's been their problem all year.
Yeah.
Especially once we lost Billings, it was over. It's been like that.
To bring in Robert Saleh, or am I saying that? Robert Saleh?
Robert Saleh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bring him in with Ben Johnson. And then, of course, I mean, the assistants, they matter, of course. We know that. But it'll be interesting to see, what that staff looks like for Ben Johnson and what he kind of can command or pull with him, which I bet there's going to be some coming from Detroit. But
that's huge, though. Speaking of Detroit, Dan Campbell talked about it like a couple weeks ago. I think I brought it up, but he's like, one of the biggest things that people overlook for head coach is who you bring in. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be delegating a lot.
He said that?
Yeah. Yeah. He was
Dan
like,
Campbell,
it's about your staff. It's about your staff that you bring in because those are the people that are going to be
handling
a lot of the stuff. So, and that's what you see, right? The head coach is the leader, but it's more of like getting your message throughout the building. And then obviously your assistant coaches are like relaying that message and you all are aligned on goals, just like any business, right? So I think that is huge. Who they bring in is very, very important. But to switch it up, I do have one question I want to get to because I think it's important, right? And we brought it up and we've talked about it before, which is funny because I think he was on the disappointing list not long ago. But Keenan Allen balled out today.
Not my list.
Right. No, it's definitely Jack's, but
somebody's list.
Nope.
Yeah,
nope.
Definitely.
Nope.
Yeah,
there
definitely
we go.
AI is getting powerful. It's getting powerful. That was not me. That was not real.
But it's a good question, right? I know obviously money is a big factor in it, but let's say the deal is maybe an overpay, but slightly, right? Just to give a little nuance, right? Nothing where you're like, wow, that is stupid money. Don't do that. But you're like, okay, well-deserved contract. Do you bring him back? Because right now, he's still Caleb's number one go-to target, at least downfield, like behind the line of scrimmage. That's definitely DJ. And he's shown time and time again. I mean, he's had more drops than we'd like to see, but like he's had a couple games like he has today in the season where you're like, okay, that's the Keenan Allen that we expected to sign. So, or trade for. So do you re-sign Keenan Allen, yes or no?
Do you want to go, Jack?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick because I mentioned this a while ago. Is like I said that Poles getting Keenan and trading for him, like I just can't imagine that the plan was 1 year rental and get out of here. So I said this from the get-go is that like I'm surprised it didn't happen already, to be honest, like especially like even preseason. Like I was surprised that it didn't. But yeah, I absolutely think I feel like I mean, what the hell do I know? You know, I'm sitting here in my room, but like I have to assume that Keenan and Caleb are close. Like again, him going to Caleb Pro Day. So I don't know. I think that Keenan should absolutely 100% come back. I think it'd be detrimental if we went DJ, Rome, and then whoever the hell finishes the three, or whoever's what.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jack. I think it's a no-brainer. No one game like can determine if you need to extend somebody for the most part. But
of course,
he had 9 receptions, 141 yards today, a touchdown. Last week he had 82 yards on 6 receptions for a touchdown. Of course, and then against the Lions, 4 weeks ago, he had 73 yards for 2 touchdowns. He's 553 yards on the year, 53 receptions, 6 touchdowns. I mean, all in all, it's not the most pretty or remarkable year. He has missed 2 games as well. So I think I think fares or actually works well for the Bears in regards to one, his production isn't what he expects and what we were expecting. However, he has been impactful. Also, when you throw in Shane Waldron, 9 games, we're not great. All over the place as far as usage. Rome Odunze is cutting into that. His target share, of course, DJ Moore as well. I think Keenan is going to be not a bargain, but I think it's going to be very affordable for the Bears. And I think he's going to want to remain in Chicago. And he said that he would like to run it back with us, or he would go back to San Francisco, or I'm sorry, to the Chargers. That was his preference. And I don't think the Chargers are in the best cap space wise. I'm not sure. I think they're 20th or 22nd in the NFL.
Yeah, they can't be because they had to restructure both.
And who knows
Osta
what they cut?
Khalil Mack.
Yeah, who knows how that transpires. I'm sure they got some cap wizards over there, but I think it's going to make sense for the Bears to offer like a 2-year, $30 million. Like I think that's with some outs and maybe not backload, probably front load it honestly. Yeah. But they have just that flexibility where they can make this contract look pretty, but also have outs for if Keenan does regress significantly. But I think right now to go and run it back with a DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Keenan Allen type offense, and then also maybe bring in a speedster, kind of like a JMO today that we saw in Detroit. I know that would take a lot of money to get, but like a Tyler Scott type role, and Scott hasn't produced like we thought he would, but to get somebody who is like Scott but can produce and take the top off, I think would be electric, especially if you have an offensive line next year that's maybe able to really fortify and secure Caleb Williams outside of getting sacked 60 times. So I think all in all, I hope that's one of not my priority, but it would be at the top of my list because I think it's an easy one to get done. If you're Ryan Poles or whoever the GM is, I think it's an easy one to get done. You just have to make sure you have to let Keenan know, hey, let's just make this happen. What makes sense for both sides. Let's be realistic here, and I think Keenan's gonna I think if he can play ball with us, play fair, I think it's gonna get done. So,
well, if Ryan Poles the GM, that's how he likes to work. So we know he doesn't overpay for people.
His number,
so,
yeah. Right.
So if
what is his number?
If Ryan Poles here,
what do you think? No, what do you think? What do you think, Jack?
I'm thinking 26 to 27. So like 12 to 13 million a year.
So 15 is too high.
Maybe 15 with incentives or something like that. I think you may have said that, but like, a base of this. But like, if you, especially amount of games played, I bet you that's in the contract because you're older, right? That'd be the same with Tevin Jenkins, but basically like snap count, and then also there's gonna be some production as well, I would think. But if you give me like 13 base, and then I can get up to 15 or even 16, like I think he would sign that. I wonder what Spotrac has as his for Keenan Allen in his new contract. But yeah, what would you do, Jack?
Did I lose?
So I was literally just looking at
he is
Spotrac.
32. Yeah,
16.2 is what Spotrac has.
16
is calculated market value, which in comparison to a 1-year-old younger Stephon Diggs is 22.
Don't know where I went.
Yeah, so I didn't even see it disappeared. I was looking at Spotrac. But yeah, that's so 16 million. So I might be undercutting here. So if it's at 16 million, Spotrac's normally pretty spot on. Maybe it's like a 15 million deal, like Dave, you were saying, like 2 for 30. That's some incentives on the back.
The wide receiver room, and I don't have it here. I've looked at it last year, and I know there's been some contracts signed. Of course, DJ Moore. It's to pay. Wide receivers are not cheap,
so expensive.
So that's why I don't think. I think when you look at some of the caliber of players that are getting paid that 14, 12, or 12 to 15 range, I think that's why you got to probably pay a little bit more. Also, Keenan's going to be, I mean, this is final contract, probably.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe not final, but it's at least his second to last, depending how many years. But if it's a 2-year deal, I think he might get one more after, possibly.
Yes,
we'll see.
As for 2 years, 32 million. 32.4 is his market value right now.
For Keenan?
Yep. So 2 years, 32. So 16.
I would do that, man. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So
before we do that, I want to do that. Yeah, aren't we all?
It's gonna be so fun. No, it's just gonna be fun. Like, not because like this season's been terrible, but it's like the Bears just have so many resources, a lot of big decisions.
Shout out Ryan
the quarterback's
Poles.
not one of them, which is nice, and I think that's probably why I like it, because there's not going to be that discourse here this year like it was last year with JF and Caleb. But now it's like, okay, no, we know who we're building around. We just need to figure out who the coach is, who the GM is, and then what moves we're going to make in draft and free agency. So
for sure,
it's gonna be fun. But
that'll be our last final gift from Poles if he's out, is making sure that we had that good cap space and draft picks. So we appreciate that. I want to do the 4K because I think that's important, and then we'll go to voicemails. So Jack, if you mind pulling that up for me, because I think this was a big moment. Actually, Dave, you were texting us like, "Ooh, if he gets 400, he might have a chance for 4,000." He didn't get 400, as you know, he got 334, but 730 yards he needs in the next 2 games. So if this man gets 370 in both, he gets it. Now that would be his highest. I think, no, he had a 393 earlier in the season, or wait, 363. So yes, that would be his highest. So he needs basically 2 career type games to end the season. Okay. But it is technically not out of range. And if he even gets like 250 going on for the rest of the year, he's going to be like 3,700. And he only has 5 yet. He has not thrown a turnover again. He had 2 more touchdowns today. So he's on pace for like 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 3,700 yards. Tell me that is a success in every category, right? You didn't break the 4K. That was a big ask anyways. That's some of the high expectations we had, but 3,700, come on. So I just want to give that before we head out here, because I thought that was important to see. Like, yeah, Caleb, like these final 2 games have looked like how the rest of the 9 have, like decent. His final stat line is going to be crazy.
That 50-yard game or whatever it was, the 90 yards too in there, man, get rid of those and we would have had it.
You get rid of Shane Waldron.
About to say that, man.
You get rid of Shane Waldron. Like if it's Thomas Brown from the jump, this man has 4K. He has 4K. Some of them are so small it won't show it, but you have I know there was like a 90-yard game week 1 against the Titans.
Week 1 and 10.
Yeah, week 1 and 10, you had less than 100 yards. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, it's still possible with these final 2 games. You'd have to go for 400 plus.
No, 370 each. 370 each.
Oh, 370 each. Yeah.
I mean, if you get 400,
it's
you're
possible,
good.
dude.
It is
Possible. Because what you could do is have like a 400-yard game, like 411, and then that final game you don't have to get as much.
330.
Yeah, or you can you could split it 370, whatever it is. But
yeah,
I think it's interesting, man. I think it's Caleb's having a pretty damn good year. His TD touchdown to like interception ratio is nuts too. I think it's going to end up. I forgot what his projections are, but I think 25 touchdowns.
The projections from last week were 25 touchdowns and like 6 interceptions.
I don't think he's going to throw a pick. I mean, I really don't. He's one when he does throw a bad ball, they just can't catch it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, we love that.
I love that. Like, I hope that I hope that sticks.
He zips it. That's the problem. Sometimes our wide receivers don't catch it because of that.
Well, no, it knocked Keenan over in that first, first quarter. Like,
I remember
he caught it, and I thought he was going to keep going, and I was like, oh, he's losing his balance.
Yeah, I do remember that one. But yeah. It's good. It's going to be a great year by the end of it. And so that's, I think, Dave, just to back that up of like going into the offseason, I think this is, may not be as exciting last year because we had, the whole idea of 2 first-round picks, but like we still got great picks, a lot of capital. We can rebuild this team or retool this
You have a
team
high second.
Quickly.
You have 2 seconds, and one of them is a very high, almost a first rounder.
Well, ours isn't too far back, so
that's true. Yeah, we've got 2. And
you got
that you're probably in the 20s.
Exactly. So, yes, it's going to be a good off season.
Okay.
But let's end it off here with the voicemails. And thank you for sending these in. If you guys didn't get it in, actually, let's do our read. I totally forgot about that, but I'll make it quick. We do have a Patreon. We're building a community there. If you want to join on there, we do have monthly giveaways. We have a bunch of good stuff on there. Hall of Fame tiers, like $10. Our rookie Grizzly tier is $3. Monthly giveaways, access to our Discord, which was active this week. Monthly, I already said monthly giveaways. We just did that. Zoom calls with us 3. It's fantastic. Go to the BFR Den on patreon.com. That's the BFR Den on patreon.com. You can also go to the BFRstore.com to buy merch. It's getting cold, so you can get your hoodies, hats, beanies, all that your heart desires. The BFRstore.com. We really do appreciate it. Stay warm for the holidays. And all those proceeds go back into the show to make it better for y'all. So hopefully by next offseason and next season when it starts, the show's as good. Well, the show's already better than the team, but it can align with the team. Hopefully the team's doing well and the show's rocking with it. So we really do appreciate that. Also, if this is your first time here, please give a hashtag new face gang in the chat. We'll give you a shout out before the end of the show. That is hashtag new face gang. And if you're an OG on the show, which means this is not your first time, please give a hashtag OG because the show would be nothing without y'all. Because at the end of the day, Dave, Jack, and I are fans, and the BFR podcast is the number one show by the fans for the fans. That's right. The number one show by the fans for the fans. And that is because of people like y'all. We really do appreciate it. So I just want to give a shout out to all of y'all for the support that you have done. And we love the support also from the voicemail line. So if you want to leave a voicemail, you won't be able to get on this show because we'll probably be ending it here soon. But if you ever want to leave a voicemail whenever, during the game, after the game, before the game, during the week, go to speakpipe.com/the BFR podcast. It is free. We play most of them, almost all of them, as long as you're not saying anything that can get you canceled, right? Or get us canceled. We will share them. We love hearing your thoughts and opinions on it. So speaking of that, Jack, go ahead. Let's get started with Angie on the voicemail.
Good Lord. I forget that these are only 90 seconds. Okay. Well, anyway, as I was saying, Caleb Williams is who he is. He has a bunch of weapons. He should have very good stats, considering the fact that he does have really good offensive weapons compared to what Justin Fields had last year and the year before and the year before that. So the Bears are who they are. This is the McCaskey's fault. This is some of Ryan Poles' fault. We all need to call a spade a spade. Quit making excuses for people like Caleb Williams. They get paid a lot of money, millions and millions of dollars. Millions. Think about that, guys. Millions of dollars. No excuses. He's the one that came out being the cocky person that he is. So let's all call a spade a spade.
Oh, I paused it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. This is an old voicemail. This is from last week. This gotta be. There's no way.
It is from today. It's 57 minutes ago. You're muted, Fick. Or your mic's not working. But yeah, no, that is from today.
Why is she talking about Angie? You gotta. What I want you to do: send in another voicemail and really explain why Caleb is not cutting it. Because I don't get that. I can't hear you, Fick. I can't hear the rest of it.
All right, we'll go to Phil here. Our guy Phil.
Phil gonna be better. Phil gotta be better. That's from today, Jay.
Hey y'all, it's Phil. Listen, hunt the good stuff, guys. Hunt the good stuff. Yes, this game sucked to watch because the Lions are just better than we are, and they stomped us, and our defense took a big step back, and they're a bunch of soft ass lamers. Even though they played well in the red zone, but whatever, they still couldn't stop anybody. But listen, hey, the Caleb Williams, he look. We want him to start off better, but a lot of the stuff in the fucking first half wasn't his fault. I mean, Rome sold him down the river twice in a row, sold us down the river. I mean, that was the game right there. And again, it continues to be other functions of this team that put us down, and then they're going to tell us that, you know, that his stats were garbage time and they were, you know, empty stats. That's bullshit, man. If anyone's seen the kind of throws that he made in the first half to lead those touchdown drives, they're impressive. He still missed a couple times today, but overall, I thought Caleb played good. You know, let's not hang our heads. The season's almost over, and hopefully Ben Johnson is on his way. Bear down.
Hopefully he is. Hopefully he is.
Help is on the way. Hopefully.
Anyways, or we got to get something. Oh, but I missed the back half of Angie's. First off, look, if we don't always agree with your voicemails, please still send them in. We love to play them and hear your guys' thoughts.
I don't want to hear Justin Fields stuff.
I don't.
If you can please not bring up Justin Fields, I think that's fair to ask.
Please, yeah.
Because I think it's such an. I mean, we don't talk about Jay anymore. We don't talk about Mitch. We don't. It's time to
barely unless we're comparing.
If Justin was lighting it up, which I know he played decent, but he's not playing. That would be a different Russell Wilson. It would be huge. I would understand it more because it's relevant.
Like weeks 1 through 6 where they were winning and then they won like 5-1. It makes sense, but he hasn't played.
It was fair.
Yeah,
and now it's not. So I just can't believe that was from Angie. Angie, you got to call in. Let us know if that was from last week because I just don't understand how you can watch today and be like, Caleb has weapons.
He looked great today.
Maybe it just now sent in or like she never hit send. I don't know.
Yeah, but he looked pretty good today. So yeah, I definitely want next show. Let it get clarify. Give us some reasons. He does. They all do.
True.
They do that. You were spot on with that. They make a lot of money. So signing bonus of 20 million, which we learned from or was it 10 million? We learned from Hard Knocks. Double digits either way. So he got his money. But
we didn't even talk about Tevin Jenkins and his extension, but we have
he got injured. We're gonna have to talk about that in the offseason. God, that man gets injured more than I breathe. I feel bad, but another show. Sorry that we didn't go too in depth. We played the lines before. We knew they were good. I mean, this is kind of the result that we were expecting. So kind of talking about the big storylines going in. Now, if we win, it'll be a different story. If we win, we will talk about how that happened, what went right, what didn't. But there's
just not. I think everyone understands. There's not much more. When you're in your 9th straight loss, I mean, you. Come on, we're almost there as Bears fans. The offseason is almost here, and that's where things can kind of get fun again. So we appreciate all your guys' support. Let's do some, like I said.
Let me do some. Keep talking. I'm going to bring the shout outs up.
No, you're good. Bring them up, and we'll get that. We'll go ahead and get out here because we got a short week.
Yep, we got Imperil here with a hashtag OG. They have to let them sling it and get the 4K. You know what? Fuck it at this point. Let's go get the yards. Mm-hmm. We got always mess us up. Amphirus. Amphirius? That's definitely not right, but appreciate that's hashtag OG. Next time, give me a pronunciation because I keep butchering that, but we appreciate it. I see you hearing all the time. We got domain expansion. Love that name. Hashtag OG. And we got Kyler Villagomez. Hashtag OG. Kyler, I remember when you came on the show and you were a new face gang, so it's great to see you back here. So appreciate that. Again, we love giving you guys shout outs. Y'all the reason why we do this show. If you want to leave a hashtag OG anytime, we'll give you a shout before the end of the show. And then the hashtag New Face Gang. We got one more in here from our Hall of Fame Grizzly member here, Michael, across the pond in the UK with the hashtag O to the G. So appreciate it. 9 straight, not great.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, we'll be back here in a couple days, probably looking at Tuesday or Wednesday. We play Thursday for the Bears. And then what? It's a night game.
Night game?
Like 7:15. Right? Yep. Thursday night football on the 26th, day after Christmas. So we'll have a preview pod here probably for you on Tuesday, Wednesday, depending. And then Wednesday's we'll be back Thursday night.
Wednesday's Christmas, so we probably would do it Tuesday.
Oh yeah, Tuesday.
We'll
get you.
Not many people are gonna hop on Wednesday, that's for sure.
Yeah, for your drives or whatever, travel, whatever it is, we'll have it out there Tuesday evening. So we appreciate the support. If you can, hit that like button. Helps us. Easy way to support the pod. And we'll be back here in a couple days. Bear down.
Peace.